Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Good afternoon, dear friends. Today we are going to discuss the topic diode as a rectifier and transistor. Basically, the component diode is a semiconductor component and it is derived from the basically P and N type materials. So before starting the topic, let me try to see how semiconductor material is classified in intrinsic and extrinsic form. Semiconductor material intrinsic means the pure semiconductor where there is a no doping takes place. In extrinsic semiconductor, the doping is takes place. Here, doping gives us or improves the conductivity in the given semiconducting material. Extrinsic material is classified into two parts, or as per the doping we are dividing into two parts. One is the acceptor doping, another is a donor doping. In acceptor doping, outer shell contains 3 electron and 5 holes, and in donor doping, outer shell contains 5 electron and 3 holes. The acceptor doping is known as a trivalent, or it is achieved with the help of trivalent type of impurities, and donor doping is achieved with the help of pentavalent type of impurities. The trivalent impurities are the material used for the trivalent impurities are boron, aluminium, gallium, like this. And with this we are achieving the P type semiconducting material. And if we are adding antimony, phosphorus, arsenic, we are getting the pentavalent, or it is pentavalent impurities, and we are getting the donor doping type of semiconducting material, that is the extrinsic material, and it is N type semiconducting material. Semiconductor material, as we know or as we have discussed, there is a conductor and insulator. These are the three words widely used. What is conductor? Conductor means there is a no forbidden gap between the conduction band and the valence band. In case of insulator, there is a wide forbidden gap, and in case of semiconductor, narrow forbidden gap. Valence band and conduction band in case of conductor overlaps. In case of insulator, no electrons there in the conduction band and valence band is filled. Whereas in semiconducting material, at absolute 0 degree temperature, that is minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, valence band is filled and electrons there in the conduction band. If one want to say one statement, one can say at absolute 0 degree Celsius temperature or absolute 0 temperature, semiconductor is the insulator. Resistance normally of the conductor is in the range of 10 to minus 6 ohms for the 1 centimeter cube area, and for the insulator the resistance will be in the range of 10 to 14 ohms if the area or if the volume is 1 centimeter cube. If we are using the semiconductor for 1 centimeter cube volume, it is 10 ohms. Conductor gives us positive temperature coefficient of the resistance, whereas semiconductor gives us the negative temperature coefficient of the resistance. Here the meaning of positive temperature coefficient is that as we increase the temperature, resistance goes on increase, whereas the meaning of negative temperature coefficient, as we increase the temperature, resistance goes on decrease. This is the very good property of the semiconducting material, and hence nowadays research is carried out on semiconducting material. Here let me try to see on a telic pad. Basically diode, what we are discussing is basically it is a PN junction. If we try to combine P type material and N type material together with, then we are getting the PN junction, where basically very important material for the semiconducting material, that is for the PN junction, are the silicon and germanium. Here the characteristic of silicon germanium material is shown here, where the forward voltage and the forward current graph is shown on the diagram. See, if you try to see on the diagram, for the germanium diode 0.3 is the forward voltage, and for the silicon 0.7 is the forward voltage. And for this forward voltage, below this voltage, that is below 0.7 or below 0.3 in case of silicon and germanium respectively, we are not getting the, you can say, forward current. Now if we apply the reverse bias current in case of the germanium is around 50 volt and the current is 10 microampere, whereas the reverse voltage for the silicon is 75 volt and the reverse current is 0.1 microampere. Ideally, if you try to see, ideal diode should give us, if it is germanium, 0.3 volt the forward potential, and if it is silicon, 0.7 that forward potential. In reverse bias ideal diode, if it is ideal diode, we should not get the reverse current. Now if we want to check the given diode, basically it should show us, if you are connecting in forward bias very low resistance, in reverse bias very high resistance. Now there is two possibilities. The diode can be short circuited or diode can be open circuited. Diode is open circuit if it is showing us very high resistance both in forward bias and both in that reverse bias, and diode is short circuited if you are getting low resistance for both forward bias and the reverse bias. This is the basic idea of the silicon and germanium diodes. Now let me try to see in our PPTs. Basically, what is diode? Diode is an electronics, is a component that restricts the direction of flow of charge carriers. Essentially, it allows an electric current to flow in one direction but blocks it in the opposite direction. Thus, the diode can be thought of as an electronic version of check valve. Normally, circuits that require current flow in one direction typically include one or more diodes in the circuit design. Today, the most common diodes are made from the semiconductor materials such as silicon as well the germanium, as we have seen before. The silicon is having forward potential of 0.3 and germanium is having silicon is having the forward potential of 0.7 and germanium is having the forward potential of 0.3. Now the lower forward drop of germanium diode is a distinct advantage, as we have seen, that is 0.3. However, the lower reverse current and higher reverse breakdown voltage of silicon diodes make them preferable for the most of applications. Nowadays we are using silicon moreover in place of the germanium. Now if you try to see the diode, we need to consider these basic 5 parameters. One is the forward voltage drop, another is the reverse saturation current, third is the reverse breakdown voltage, number 4 is the dynamic resistance, and the maximum power current, that is IF maximum. The values of these components, what we have seen in our last slide, can be obtained from the diode data sheets. If we try to see any electronic component, before using the electronic component, one need to refer the data sets available from the manufacturer side. If we try to see the silicon diode, VF, that is the forward potential, is 0.7, reverse current IR, that is the reverse current, is 0.1 microampere, and the breakdown voltage is the 75 volt. Most modern diodes are based on semiconductor PN junction theory. In a PN junction diode, conventional current can flow from the P type, that is from the anode, to the N type, that is the cathode, but cannot flow in the opposite direction. This is one of the best or one of the important characteristic present with the junction diode. Now if you try to see the basic or the more important use of the diode is to fabricate or to design the rectifier circuits. There are so many electronic industries, so many electronic components, so many electronic appliances which are using the DC power supply for the usage. Electrical energy, normally what is supplied to the home appliances or in the industry, is in the form of alternating voltage, that is the AC voltage what we are getting in our home appliances, which is having the frequency with it, whereas in the case of DC it is having the 0 Hz frequency. However, most of the devices in electronic equipments what we are using normally in our laboratories are running with the DC supply. This is usually provided by the dry cells. what we are using in our watch, etc. Sometimes we use battery eliminator, which eliminates the use of dry cells. Most of the equipments nowadays include an inbuilt circuit which converts AC potential into the DC potential, which is known as, or which is termed as, power supply. Basically, it is having the four basic components in power supply. The component number one is the transformer, number two is the rectifier, the filter, and the regulator. The function of the transformer is to, you can say, step up or step down the potential, the line voltage. Normally, in case of our laboratory usage, what we are doing, we are using the step down type of transformer. Transformer basically consists of primary winding, the core, and the secondary winding. If the number of primary turns are higher than the secondary turns, the transformer is known as a step down transformer. If number of primary turns are less than the secondary turns, the transformer is termed as step up transformer. Primary turns are more than the secondary turn, then it is step down. Primary turns are less than the secondary turns, step down transformer. The potential what we are getting at the secondary is the AC potential, is a lower AC potential, is a potential in AC form. This potential is applied to the rectifier. The function of the rectifier is to convert the AC voltage into the DC voltage. But what I like to say, no electronic device, no electronic circuit is a 100% that will give you the 100% conversion from one form to another form. Like that, rectifier is the device which converts AC into DC, but we are not getting 100% DC conversion of the AC potential. Means we are getting certain ripple present in the DC, means certain AC component present with the DC. So to remove this AC component after the rectification, we are using the filter, or filter is a circuit which is used to remove the ripple or the unwanted AC components superimposed on the DC quantity. So this filter is the circuit which removes the unwanted ripple. Then comes the regulator. Nowadays we are having so many, you can say, ICs, integrated circuits available in the market, which can be used as a regulated device or regulated circuits, which is used to remove, which is used to give the stabilized potential. Let I tell you the few numbers of the regulated ICs. The number IC number 7805 will give you 5 volt DC. Suppose number is 7810, which gives us 10 volt DC, constant DC. 7812, which gives you 12 volt DC. Number 78 means it gives us 5 volt, but in the positive, is a positive potential. Positive 5, 7805, positive 5, 7810, positive 10, 7812, positive 12. Now it is not necessary every time that we are using the 5 volt, 10 volt, 12 volt, 15 volt, 20 volt in positive only. Sometimes we require the 5 volt, 10 volt in minus, that is the negative 5 volt, negative 12 volt. Let I give you the numbers again. 7905, 7910, 7912. Here 05 indicates that we are getting 5 volt, but the series 79 means we are getting the minus 5 volt. In case of 7805 we are getting plus 5 volt. In case of 7905 we are getting minus 5 volt. This is the regulated block of our power supply. A power supply, as we have seen, let me try to read it again. A power supply is made up of mainly 4 components called building blocks of the power supply. At the input of the power supply, there is a transformer, either step up or step down type. Now, the transformer is sent to the potential, whatever we are getting from the output of the secondary, it is allowed to give to the rectifier, which converts AC voltage into the DC voltage superimposed with the AC components. The output of the rectifier is fed into the filter, that is the third block of our block diagram. And finally, the output of the filter is passed through a voltage regulator which stabilizes the output voltage against the variation in input voltage, because whatever potential we are using in our home appliances is basically 230 volt, 235 volt, 225, 220. There is a certain variations in the potential. This potential variation will give us the potential variation at the output side, and certain electronic components, electronic appliances are there which cannot tolerate such type of variations. So we need to use the regulated block. At the output of the regulator, we get a regulated pure DC voltage which is then fed into the equipment to whom we are interested to give this such type of potential. Now let me rectifier, what we have studied, rectifier basic block diagram. It consists of transformer, rectifier, filter and the regulated block. Rectifier is the device which converts AC potential into DC potential. Basically there are two types of rectifiers. One is the half wave rectifier, another is the full wave rectifier. Let me try to see first of all the half wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier is a PN junction diodes widely used in rectifiers because of their unidirectional behavior. Unidirectional behavior of the diode. Why it is unidirectional behavior? Because diode can allow us the movement from anode to cathode only. There is no movement from cathode to anode. Means what? Potential can pass from anode to cathode only. Majority potential, majority charge particles can flow from the positive to the negative. That's why it is having the unidirectional nature. Here the diagram shows us the basic half wave rectifier diagram. At the first part, it is having 220 volt and 50 hertz power supply. There is a transformer and then we are using the one diode, and that output of the diode is connected to the load resistor RL, and from where ideally we are expecting DC in pure form. But as I told you earlier, we are not getting 100% pure DC. The PN junction diode is connected in series with the secondary coil of the transformer and the load resistor. The primary coil of the transformer is connected with the power mains which supplies the AC potential, you can say 230 volt with 50 hertz. The voltage waveform for the voltage Vi developed at the secondary side are shown in the diagram. You can say it is a sinusoidal potential which is moving from 0, pi, 2 pi, 1 revolution, then start the second revolution, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi and so on. The potential obtained at the secondary side is Vi equal to Vm sin omega t, where the Vm is the maximum or the peak potential of the particular sine wave at the secondary side. Now if you try to see during the positive half cycle of the applied potential to the diode, diode is receiving the positive pulse, that is from 0 to pi, diode is getting the positive pulse at the anode side and it is conducting. So during the positive half cycle of the input voltage, the PN junction diode is in forward bias and a load current IL flows through the RL. As a result, the output voltage V0 is developed across the load resistor. So this is the thing for the positive half cycle of the diode. Now as the input voltage Vi increases, the voltage V0 also increases and becomes maximum when Vi is maximum. Later when Vi decreases and goes to 0, V0 also goes to 0. So if you try to see the diagram, the positive potential, the first half you can try to see 0 to pi, we are getting the output. Upper part is the input and what we are getting from the secondary of the transformer, and the lower pulses or lower waveforms are the output from the diode side. Okay, so for the 0 to pi we are getting 0 to pi in that diode side. Then comes pi to 2 pi region. So pi to 2 pi region of the applied input is a negative potential, and this potential what we are giving, what we are applying, what we are giving to the diode, and diode is not going to conduct during this negative potential because negative potential is applied to the anode and diode will be in the reverse biased. In the reverse bias, diode is not flowing, it is a unidirectional device. Hence from pi to 2 pi, if you try to see in the below waveform, we are not getting any output. Then again from 2 pi to 3 pi comes the positive half cycle, and for that positive half cycle we are getting the output from the diode. This is how we can justify that the positive half cycle and the negative half cycle of the given rectifier. See again, if you try to see, however, during the negative half cycle of the input voltage, the PN junction diode is in reverse biased and hence there is no current through the load resistor RL. So here is a very important term related to the rectifier, and here for the half wave rectifier, the diode gets reverse biased during the negative half cycle of the input AC. Hence there is no current through the diode. There is no current flowing through the diode in the reverse bias as we have seen. But at the time when the input reaches maximum value Vm in the negative half cycle, the voltage across the diode also becomes maximum. The maximum voltage is called, that is peak inverse voltage, that should be tolerated, or that is the ability, or that should be the ability of the diode to tolerate that negative potential. The peak inverse voltage is a maximum voltage the diode must be able to withstand during the negative half cycle of the input. For a half wave rectifier, the PIV is Vm, maximum voltage, that is Vm. Now comes the full wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier, what is the limitation of half wave rectifier? We are getting the output from 0 to pi, no output, pi to 2 pi, output 2 pi to 3 pi, still then there is a no output from 3 pi to 4 pi. These are the output waveforms of the half wave rectifier. Now comes the full wave rectifier. Rectifier which converts complete cycle of the input, that is input AC, is called the full wave rectifier, FWR. There are two types of full wave rectifiers. As we have seen, rectifier is divided into two parts, half wave and full wave. Rectifier, half wave rectifier, we have seen. Now the full wave rectifier. Full wave rectifier is again divided into two parts. One is the center tap rectifier, another is the bridge rectifier. Now comes the center tap rectifier. Why it is known as a center tap rectifier? Here, the one of the you can say one of the use, or one of the standard transformer which is having tapping at the center of the secondary is used. A center tap rectifier uses a special kind of transformer whose secondary is tapped at the center and the load resistance is connected with it. So if you try to see, there are two diodes D1 and D2 are connected at the secondary side, and the load RL is connected at the, you can say, at the tap, at the center tap of the transformer secondary side. There are two diodes, as I told you, D1 and D2 connected with the secondary. When the current flows through the load resistance, the output voltage V0 is developed across it. See, now we are having the center tap. So upper part is from positive and negative, then after the RL there is a positive and negative. So if you try to see, for the D1, it conducts during the positive half cycle, and during that cycle D1 conducts and D2 is not going to conduct, and during the negative half cycle D2 conducts and D1 is not going to conduct. So for the positive half cycle of the input AC diode, D1 is forwarded bias and D2 is reverse bias. Hence, a load current IL flows in the upper half of the secondary circuit through the diode D1 and the load resistor RL, which produces an output voltage V0 across the RL. So for the first half cycle from 0 to pi, we are getting the output due to diode D1 and RL. Now for the cycle 2, however, there is no current, as I told you, in the lower half of the secondary circuit, as D2 is in the reverse biased. Now during the negative half cycle, the diode D1 is in the reverse biased and diode D2 is in the forward bias. Hence, so in the negative half cycle, what we are getting? We are getting the output due to the diode D2 and the load resistor RL. And here, as we have seen, diode D1 is in the reverse bias, so D1 is not going to be conducted. These are the, you can say, for working of the diode D1, diode D2 and the waveforms. In the positive half cycle, D1 conducts. So if you try to see the particular waveforms, the first waveform, that is 0 to pi, that is due to the diode D1. Then comes the pi to 2 pi. In pi to 2 pi, the input waveform will give you pi to 2 pi region. We are getting the negative half cycle, and negative half cycle will give you output into D2, then D3 and D4. Thus the current flows through the load during both the half cycles of the input AC in the same direction. Hence, the voltage V0 is developed across the load during the complete cycle of the input AC. Now, here again the peak inverse voltage. As we have seen, what is peak inverse voltage? Peak inverse voltage is the voltage that should be that should be handled by the given diode in the reverse bias. As shown in the figure, D1 is forward bias and D2 is reverse bias. Secondary of the transformer supplies Vm voltage in both the biases, both the halves of the circuit, the upper half and the lower half. The voltage across the load is the Vm, that is the Vm maximum voltage. The total voltage is the summation of voltage across the secondary and the load resistance, and hence PIV for the both cycles equal to Vm plus Vm equal to 2Vm. Now comes the bridge rectifier. So this is the second part, or second, you can say, way to form the full wave rectifier is a bridge rectifier. If you try to see here, we are using 4 diodes in place of 2 diodes. 4 diodes connected in a bridge form: diode 1, diode 2, diode 3 and diode 4, and at the center or diagonally we are connecting the load resistor RL. It is connected with the transformer. Normally step down transformer is used. So the bridge rectifier consists of 4 PN junction diodes connected in 4 arms of the Wheatstone bridge, load resistor RL along the diagonal of the bridge. Now again we try to see the pulses or the waveforms applied to the transformer. So first comes the positive half cycle. During the positive half cycle, if you try to see, the diode D2 and diode D4 can conduct the potential. The diode D1 is facing the positive part or positive pulse of the power supply, hence it is in reverse bias, and the diode D3 is getting the negative half, that's why it is in the reverse biased. So for the positive half cycle, that is 0 to pi, what we are getting output due to D2, RL and D4, and circuit gets completed. In the negative half cycle, if you try to see the figure what we have drawn, where in negative half cycle diode D2 and diode D4 will remain in reverse bias, and diode D3, RL and D1 will give us the full path for the current. So during the positive half cycle, as I told you, D1 and D3 are in reverse bias. See again into the figure, D1 and D3 in the reverse biased for the positive half cycle. Now again D2 and D4 are forward bias. There will be current IL flowing through the RL, giving rise to the output voltage V0 across it. Now during negative half cycle, for the positive half cycle, D2 and D4 in conducting mode and D1 and D3 in the reverse bias. Now in negative half cycle, D1 and D3 in conducting mode and D4, D2 and D4 will be in the reverse bias mode. So again there will be current IL flowing through the RL, giving rise to the output voltage V0 across it. So this is the complete waveform, output waveform for the bridge rectifier. For the pulse what we are getting for 0 to pi, that is due to diode D2 and D4 what we have seen. Then comes the negative half cycle of the input, which gives us output from pi to 2 pi, that is due to D1 and D3, again D2, D4, D1, D3 and so on. Thus as shown in the figure, current flows during both the half cycles in the output. During the one half cycle, it is due to diode D1, D2 and D4, and in another half cycle, that is negative half cycle, output due to D1 and D3. Also the current flows in same direction during both the half cycles. If you try to see, let I show you again. See, the current flowing through resistor RL in both the case is in the same direction. If it is positive half cycle, the path will be like this. Just try to listen: D2, RL, D4. This is for the positive half cycle. Now for the negative half cycle, the path is like this: D3, RL and D1. In both the case, just to try to see, the current flowing through the RL is in the same direction. That I want to say. Now also the current flow in the same direction what we have discussed. Now why bridge rectifier circuits are preferred? Bridge rectifier circuits are widely used and preferred due to several reasons. What are those reasons? Bridge rectifier does not require a transformer having center tapping type of facility, as we have seen in the case of center tap rectifier. The PIV of diodes used in center tap rectifiers is 2 Vm, whereas in case of bridge rectifier it is only Vm. Such diodes are cheaper. However, the disadvantage of bridge rectifier, if you try to recall, the center tap rectifier was using 2 diodes for the designing purpose, whereas the bridge rectifier is using 4 diodes for its construction. Also, bridge rectifier cannot work properly in low voltage applications because the voltage drop across the 2 forward bias diodes becomes almost 1.4 volt as we are using if we are using silicon diodes. Hence we may not get the sufficient voltage at the output. Now how to get the better DC? If you try to recall the block diagram of the rectifier, the first block was the transformer, second block was the rectifier, third block was the filter. Why we are using filter? Because the limitations of the rectifier. Sometimes we are getting, after the conversion from AC into DC, there is a certain AC components available or present with the DC. To remove this DC, we need to use the filter circuit. The function of the filter circuit, already we have discussed, is to remove the component, AC component present in the output. Now the output of the rectifier is a mixture of AC and DC both. Thus, it is not pure DC, but it is pulsating DC. Pulsating DC, why it is pulsating DC? Because it is having certain AC components and it is right now unwanted. In order to remove these unwanted AC components from the output of a rectifier and to make it smooth, filter circuits are extensively used. Now there are so many filter circuits available in electronics. Shunt capacitor filter, the technique number 1 for the filtration is the shunt capacitor filter. In this type of filter, a large value of capacitor C is connected in shunt, that is in the parallel with the load resistor RL. The capacitor offers the low reactance path to AC component. Now why it is like this? Let I clear. The capacitive reactance is given by, you can say formula is XC equal to 1 upon 2 pi FC. If it is having the frequency component, it gives you very high resistance, and if it is not having frequency component, that is DC, it gives you very low resistance. The capacitor offers low reactance path to AC component, means what? If there is let me try to see the figure. Here is a full wave rectifier. If there is a AC component present in a given output, that those AC components will try to move from that capacitor, because for AC components, capacitor acting as a low resistance device. If you try to recall again the formula, XC equal to 1 upon 2 pi FC. If there is a frequency, higher the frequency, lower the reactance. Now if you are getting pure DC where frequency is 0, means what? If you try to place in XC formula F equal to 0, XC becomes almost infinitive, means what? DC cannot pass through the capacitor, whereas AC can pass easily from the capacitor. Means what? What we are doing? We are passing the unwanted AC component, what we are getting output of the from the output of the full wave rectifier. This is one of the way to remove the AC component of the bridge rectifier or full wave rectifier. Now another way is a series inductor filter. An inductor, the property of inductor is to oppose any change in value of the current flowing through it. This is the nature of the inductor. This property of the inductor is used to filter out the AC component present in the output of the rectifier. Any change in the current, that is any AC component change flowing through the inductor, can be minimized with the help of this particular inductor. The inductor offers high reactance to the higher frequencies. Now what was the formula for the capacitive reactance? It was the XC equal to 1 upon 2 pi FC. If there is a frequency component, XC decreases. If there is no frequency component, in case of XC is infinite. This is about the XC. Now let me try to see XL. XL, that is inductive reactance. The formula for XL equal to 2 pi FL. Now if there is a frequency, XL and frequency are directly proportional. If there is a frequency, XL is F, as F increases, XL increases. So just try to read this statement. The inductor offers high reactance to high frequencies. XL is proportional to F. So higher harmonic ripples, higher the ripples, it can easy to remove with the help of such type of inductive components. Here is the way how to connect that inductive filter into the circuit. Full wave rectifier, in series there is an inductor and the load resistor. This was the third way. Now the second way, now comes the third way, is a choke input LC filter. What we are using? In first case we have used capacitor alone, then comes the inductor alone, now comes the L and C together with. This filter contributes the feature of both the shunt capacitor and the series inductor. Therefore it performs the filtration more effectively. It consists of series inductor and shunt capacitor with respect to the load. The inductor allows DC component to pass, smoothen out the AC component, however capacitor blocks the DC component, as the formula suggests, XC and XL. This is the basic configuration of the LC type of filter circuit, where inductor is there and the capacitor is there. Then comes the pi filter. In this type of filter, an additional capacitor is used in addition to the LC. If you try to see, first of all we have used capacitor alone, then inductor alone, then the pair L and C, then comes with LC we are again adding the capacitor. Filter is named as like this with the help of Greek letter pi. It looks like Greek letter pi. You can say capacitor, then inductor and the capacitor. It is also called capacitor input filter because the output of the rectifier, what we are getting, that is second block, is directly fed into the capacitor. If you try to see this one, suppose this is the circuit of the half wave rectifier where output of the rectifier is connected to C1, then with the inductor and then C2, C1, inductor and C2. Now all these things about the rectifier, half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier, peak inverse voltage, filter, and in my previous talk I told you about the regulated ICs 7805, 7905, you can say 7812 like this. Now there are types of diodes. The main types of diodes which are used in the different electronic circuits are listed below are the signal diodes, power diodes, Zener diodes, varactor diodes, light emitting diodes. These are the diodes widely used in the electronic circuits. Now first of all, the signal diodes, they are mainly used in small currents and or voltage applications, small current, small voltage, or small current and small voltage. They have large reverse resistance to forward resistance ratio and minimum junction capacitance. And this word, the junction capacitance, is very critical. We will try to see when we will see the varactor diode. They find applications, signal diodes finds the applications in radio wave detection and electronic switch and in you can say logic circuits. The PIV rating is in the range of 30 to 150 volt for the signal diodes. The maximum forward current range is 40 milliampere to 250 milliampere. Power diodes are mainly used in the rectifiers. They are usually silicon diodes having the PIV in the range of 50 to 1000 volts and the maximum forward current in the range of 30 ampere or more. They are capable of handling large power. They have small forward resistance and very high reverse resistance, and it is very important when we are connecting with the rectifiers. Ideal rectifier, ideal diode should give us the small forward resistance and the highest, if it is possible, infinite reverse resistance. Then comes the Zener diode. Zener diode is very important component in a regulated power supply blocks. They are PN junction diodes designated to operate in the breakdown region without the damage. Breakdown region means what? If we are operating our diode in reverse bias. When a diode is heavily doped means what? We have fabricated the diode with the help of N and P. Suppose we increase the concentration of N type material, and you can say concentration rise means N plus N plus plus. N or N minus, P or P plus. That is a highly doped type of material. When diode is heavily doped, the depletion layer becomes very narrow. Depletion region between the N type and P type material. If the reverse voltage is increased, the electric field across the depletion layer becomes very intense. If this field is about 3 into 10⁻⁷ volt per meter, then it is capable of pulling out the electrons and the covalent bonding. The circuit symbol of Zener is shown. It is look like the diode, normal diode, but there is certain or very small difference between the normal diode and the Zener diode. A Zener diode is specified by its breakdown voltage and the maximum power dissipation. Whenever we are working with the electronic component, there is a certain dissipation of the heat. Zener diode as a voltage regulator. The most common application of Zener diode is as a voltage stabilizing or a voltage regulating circuit. The output of the filter is almost like a pure DC. Ideally we are considering, but still it does not remain constant over the time, and the fluctuation, or it can fluctuate largely due to the several reasons. One reason can be the fluctuation in the incoming potential, incoming line voltage. The output voltage is mainly affected by two factors. One is a change in input voltage, that is line voltage, and other is change in the load current, sometimes the device what we are using is sinking the more current from the device. Regulator circuits are used to provide stabilization of output voltage against this type of variations. This all about the Zener diode. Now comes the varactor diode. A reverse biased PN junction can be compared to the capacitor. Now just try to think about the diode in reverse biased. So p-type layer, p-type material is connected to negative and n-type material is connected with the positive. So diode is in reverse bias. If you connect your diode in reverse bias, depletion region goes on increase. Now just try to recall the construction of the capacitor. Basically, capacitor is consist of two conducting plates, and between these two conducting plates there is a dielectric material. Now you compare that construction of the capacitor with the reverse biased PN junction diode. P-type material and n-type material, you can say for a while, is a conducting plates, and our dielectric material is acting as a dielectric material. Depletion region what is found between P and N is our dielectric material. So a reverse bias PN junction can be compared to a capacitor with a P and N-type semiconductor as a two parallel plates of the capacitor, and you can say region, depletion region, is the dielectric material separating the two plates. Thus a reversed bias PN junction offers an effective capacitance given by C equal to epsilon A by W. Epsilon is the permittivity, A is the area of the plate, and W is the width or the junction width of the depletion region. Higher the reverse bias potential, higher the width, and higher the reverse bias, higher the width, and lower the capacitance. Higher the area of the plate, higher the capacitance. The width of the depletion region depends on the applied reverse potential, and it is proportional to the square root of the applied potential. Width, whatever is generated, that is the proportional to the square root of the applied reverse potential at the diode side. Since epsilon and A are constant for a given diode, because area we are not changing, epsilon we are not changing, what we can change is the potential, and hence with the help of this potential the width of the depletion region goes on increase or goes on decrease. So the capacitance formed with the help of this diode, you can say varactor diode, depends upon, you can say, our reverse potential in the square root form. Thus as we increase the reverse voltage, the capacitance goes on decrease and vice versa. Just you try to see the graph. As we increase the reverse potential, the width goes on increase, and hence the capacitance is minimum, and vice versa. Varactor diodes are alternative to mechanically tuned capacitors in many applications. If you tune any frequency, you can use such type of varactor diodes. They are also used in resonant tank circuit. Tank circuit means what? The combination of inductor and capacitor. Now comes the light emitting diode, and the famous or the frequently used diode in the day-to-day life applications. Very important application of such type of diodes is nowadays in the communication. If you try to see, there is a fiber optic communication takes place in day-to-day life. There are two, you can say, standard sources available for the fiber optic communications. One is the LED, another is the laser. Okay, there is a limitations of the LED when we are using in fiber optic communication, but one can say is one of the source for the fiber optic communication. So light emitting diode is the very famous component of the communication as well in day-to-day life appliances and the use. When PN junction diode is forward biased, the majority charge carriers cross the junction and recombines with the holes or electrons on either side of the junction. During each recombination, some energy is released. Now, in normal PN junction diode, energy released will be in the form of heat. But if it is light emitting diode, then the heat is not generated in the form of heat, but it is in the form of light. How? This is how we can differentiate the normal diode and the our light emitting diode. The junction emits the light. This is the symbol of the light emitting diode, and the nearby symbol, nearby picture is a 7-segment display, what we are normally observing in our appliances. In case of ordinary, that is silicon and germanium diodes, this energy is released, as I told you, in the form of heat, and such diodes normally, if you are changing the material, that is the gallium arsenide phosphide. It release, not heat, release the light, and it is releasing the light, hence it is the light emitting diode. LEDs made up of gallium arsenide phosphide, gallium phosphide will generate or will going to emit red, green, orange lights. Material like gallium arsenide can produce infrared lights. Or you can say nowadays 7 segment display, what we have seen in our last picture, which made up of the number of LEDs. We are arranging the LEDs in such a way to create a picture like that 7 segment form. It is widely used in the instrumental display, panel indicators. Basically it is having the industrial uses, watches, calculators, multimeters, intercoms and switchboards, etc. Now, by activating the suitable combination of LEDs in this unit, any digit from 0 to 9 can be displayed in that 7 segment type of displays. Now, what are the different advantages of the LEDs? LEDs have many advantages over ordinary incandescent lamps. They work on low voltage and currents and hence consumes the less power, requires no heating or warm up time and hence are very fast in the action. They are small in size and light in weight. They are not affected by mechanical vibrations and have long life. Now comes the word transistor. What we have seen up to this, we have seen the diode, PN junction diode, both in forward bias and reverse bias, rectifier, half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier, center tape and bridge. Then comes the filter, pi filter. You can start with the only capacitor as one of the component in the filter circuit. Then comes the inductor as a alone component in the filter circuit. Then comes the LNC. Then comes 2 capacitors and 1 inductor. That comes the pi filter. Okay. Then comes the types of diode, what we have seen. Now comes the transistor. Basically transistor is the configuration, again is a type of PNP or NPN component, or the you can say elements connected in series. Transistors were invented in 1948 by the John Bardeen. You can say it is very good invention as far as the amplifiers or type of electronic components concerned. Transistors replaced by the bulky vacuum tubes in many applications due to several advantages. The important feature of transistors are as follow: no heating delays and no heating power needed, smaller in size and lighter in weight, low operating voltages, low power consumption and hence higher efficiency, long life and no aging effects, shock proof. This is the working of the transistor, where the N-type region, P-type region and the N-type region are connected like this. The first N-type region, that is lower half, termed as a E, is connected with the negative potential. Then the positive potential, it is termed as VEE. Then comes the P-type, which is connected directly with the VEE and VCC. Then comes the N-type, and it is with the positive, negative, positive, negative. As shown in the figure, the emitter base junction is forward biased by the VEE and the majority charge carriers can easily cross the junction. Now, before moving into this capacitor part, or sorry, I'm sorry, that is transistor part, let I clear the word, the DC load line, and it is the word related with the diodes. So, graphical analysis of diode says that, let we try to see on that particular scope. So, if you try to see here, we are interested in graphical analysis of diode circuits. So, what we are giving, that is supply voltage is 5 volt, there is a load resistor and the diode D1. Load resistor and diode D1 are connected in series. The potential developed across the load resistor is IF into RL, and the potential developed across the D1 is the forward potential EF. Now, before starting the analysis, let me try to see the formula for this particular circuit. You can say ES equal to IFRL plus EF, IFRL plus EF. Now, we consider the 2 points, the 2 parts. First of all, let me try to see the IF equal to 0. IF equal to 0. So, IF equal to 0. At that time, if you try to place IF equal to 0, what we are getting? ES equal to EF. IF 0. That's why ES equal to EF, ES equal to EF, and my ES is 5. So this is the one of the point, and we will plot somewhere in the diagram. Now let me try to see the second part, second thing, where let me try to make EF equal to 0, EF equal to 0. So here in circuit EF equal to 0, so ES equal to IF RL. Now ES equal to IF RL, so IF equal to ES by RL. What is the value of ES? Is 5. The value of RL, that is load resistor, is 100, so we are getting 50 milliampere. Now let me try to plot these 2 points, that is ES, that is EF 5 volt, and IF in the diagram. So this is the plot of EF versus IF. So the point A, what we obtain when IF equal to 0. So here is IF equal to 0, and at that time EF is 5. The second condition was the EF equal to 0. So EF equal to 0, at that time if EF is 0, what we are getting? IF 50 milliampere. So 50 milliampere. So if you try to plot this line, we are getting the line like this, and this is known as a DC load line. Now what line we are plotting with respect to the given VF, EF and IF, and it is in the correspondence with the diode forward characteristic. So if you try to see, we are combining the two effects, the DC load line and the forward characteristic of the diode. When we are the point where we are matching or we are combining the DC load line and the forward characteristic is known as a Q point of the given diode, and it is the Q shunt point. So Q shunt point or DC bias point, where load line intersects, is a diode characteristic. Now this is very important part of the load line, and the load line word is again important as far as the transistor concerned. The resulting, now we are moving into the transistor part. If you try to recall again the circuit, here the circuit, the resulting current IE, that is the emitter current across the junction, is due to the electrons crossing from emitter to the base and the holes crossing from junction, you can say from base to the emitter. Here the base region is very lightly doped, so the number of holes in it is very small. The ratio of number of electrons arriving at collector to the number of emitted electrons is known as the base transportation factor, beta. Beta of the transistor is very famous word, and such type of we are finding when we are referring the data sheet in the transistor. Since the collector base junction is reverse biased by the VCC, a leakage current flows across it. The number of charge carriers crossing the emitter base junction is higher the number of charge carriers crossing the collector junction. The difference of these two currents forms the base current IB.
Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.